What's up, YouTube? Thanks for joining me on this video today. I'm going to be making Rapture videos on this channel, also just Bible-based videos. Hey, I also make podcasts. I have a podcast, but I upload those podcast episodes to this YouTube channel, so that's why you see, sometimes it looks like a video, but it's really just audio. So I would listen to those in the car. Of course, if you're interested, I would listen to those in the car or while you're doing something. And so that's what I wanted to say for that. And so what I wanted to talk about today for the rapture topic is, don't say that the rapture isn't going to happen. Or specifically, don't say that Jesus is coming back not in this lifetime, or he's coming back later or in a different time. And the reason I give for that is because Jesus, when he mentioned how, if a person says in their heart that my Lord is delaying his coming, then he will begin to drink and get drunk and eat and drink with drunkards, and he will also beat the male and female servants. And so basically it's a regression, really, or a progression towards not being a good Christian. And so I think one thing that we have to get away from is saying in our heart that, oh, Jesus may not be returning, because that's just not the mindset that Jesus wants us to have as we talk about the rapture, as we get closer to the signs of the times, and closer to that time where, in the book of Hebrews, it says, don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together as you see the day drawing near. And so the day is, you're able to see that the day is drawing near because it says it in that passage. It says, hey, don't stop going to church. But also it says, you can see the day drawing near. And so, as we talk about the rapture, we know that one day we're going to be reunited with our loved ones who have passed away in Christ. We just had someone close in our family that passed away, and so we know that we're going to see them again. And I'm a fan of the Left Behind movies. I think there is a lot of truth to the Left Behind movies. I think that it was made on solid foundation. Other than, there is a Left Behind movie with Nicolas Cage, where I do like that movie, but it's not necessarily coming from the standpoint of a believer. It seems to be coming from the standpoint of, non-Christians have heard Christians talk about the rapture, and so they made a movie on it. In my opinion, the Left Behind movie by Kevin Sorbo that just came out, probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I highly recommend that Left Behind movie. It was actually really good. Even though it doesn't necessarily focus on the whole rapture side of the house, even though it does, it more focuses on, the journey towards coming to faith in Jesus Christ from the standpoint of a person who didn't believe, but they saw the rapture. And so now, what do we do? And so we know that we're going to be reunited with our loved ones who have gone and passed away. And on one hand, I think there is a practical side of just a human way of thinking that, oh, maybe, we don't know when the rapture is going to happen. And so maybe we could die. And not necessarily in the tribulation, but just from old age or whatever, and I think that is a kind of a practical way of looking at it. But for this video, I'm focusing more on the side of, don't say in your heart that, you for sure know that Jesus isn't coming back, or having that standpoint that, oh, just like someone can have an impression that Jesus is coming back, someone can have the impression that Jesus isn't coming back. I've seen both sides of the coin, and so, I'm more along the lines taking the stance of, don't say that, Jesus isn't coming back today or tomorrow or this year or next year. We just don't know. And I think we can know that the signs are increasing, that there are more signs to be seen. Some of the signs are lawlessness. I made a Rapture news video that I tried to bring out some news headlines that were, just in the news that were either lawlessness or something bizarre happening, something crazy happening. There is a channel out there that posts news videos on the Rapture. I do recommend his channel because I don't know if I'm going to fully stick with Rapture news headlines because, it's just so much out there that, some of the stories I feel like I couldn't even repeat or share because it was just so, gruesome. But anyway, we see more signs that are happening in the world. Even from me watching The Watchmen on YouTube, where he posts news headlines and different things like that, it shows that there are more increasing things that we should be aware of. And, I think the world is going to be set and ready for, one thing like the mark of the beast. If we see that the world is getting closer and closer to a one world government, then we know that the rapture must be soon because, it's just like everything is falling into place. Now, maybe back in the 1400s or the 1500s, where they didn't even have an iPhone where you could instantly message someone, they didn't have some of the technology that exists today. There wasn't any artificial intelligence, and so in the present day, we have more and more things happening where I guess we can ask ourselves in our heart, what would be that next step towards some of the things that are seen in the book of Revelation. And, really, once the seals are open, we know that it's 7 years that, all that needs to take place. And in my opinion, within the 7 years, I don't think, the technology is just going to automatically overnight happen. I think it's a progression of the technology becoming more available, where once Jesus opens the first seal in Revelation chapter 6, then the technology is already in the world where it just comes together in a satanic, hating of God way, where the people of this world use those means to, really play out God's plan. And so this is not necessarily a video on that, but going back to the main topic of, we should have a present time period in our heart where we're saying Jesus can come back today. It's not from the standpoint of, I'm emptying my bank accounts because, I know that it's coming back on, in a week or in a month. It's not from the standpoint of, I'm storing up all this food because, who knows what's going to happen. No, one, I believe that in the story of Noah, God told Noah what to do. It wasn't from the standpoint of, oh, I'm going to store all this food because, I'm going to survive the tribulation on my own. No, it was Noah paired with God, who God is the one that protected Noah. And so for us Christians today, who are millions of Noahs on the earth, there's a whole bunch of Noahs now, that it's us paired with God, who, we don't have a revelation from God that says, hey, you need to store up, food for 7 years. Now, I guess a person can piece that together from the word of God and say, oh, Joseph stored up 7 years of food, and so I should do the same. Or, you can get stories from the Bible, but my point is that you would really have to be piecing that together. See, Noah, he had a specific word from God telling him what to do. And I believe our specific word from God is to Revelation 3:10, which it says that God is going to preserve us. It's not necessarily us coming up with our own ideas. Oh, now I have to go buy a gun and, hide in the mountains with my family because, I'm going to survive the tribulation, which you not really knowing when that's going to happen. And I'm just trying to give different ideas, but, it's not necessarily you doing certain things in order to survive. We can't necessarily make the rapture happen, but the point is that we are counting on God to make the rapture happen. And so, not to take away from what anyone's doing out there, I don't think there's anything, against storing up food if that's what you want to do. I don't think the Bible condemns that at all. So, feel free to do that. Don't let me stop you and with my opinion. And I'm just giving my opinion on this YouTube channel here. But, we should have this expectation that, Jesus can come back. And so how am I getting ready? How am I preparing for the end times? And of course, we're already ready to go. Even if we were to die, the worst scenario, think about the worst scenario out there where, you could be shot or you could be stabbed or you could get hit by a bus or a car. Those are some of the worst scenarios that are out there that, you would have 1 to 5 hours maybe of pain, but even in death, we have victory that, the pain could last longer than that, but I'm talking about in the event that you die, you would have, a 1 hour or 3 hours until you die, especially if you get shot. It could be sooner than that. Those are some kind of situations that could make us afraid, but we have victory that we know we're going to heaven. You don't have to be afraid of those things, even though we don't want those things to happen. And I'm not saying that, hey, if someone, stabs me or shoots me, that, I'm not afraid of that or something, in a way, in the sense of the word afraid. I'm not saying, I'm the perfect person here, but I'm just trying to give a scenario out there of, we have victory in death. And even in the worst scenario, we know that we're going to heaven. But I bring that up to say that we should be preparing for the rapture, and we also get something along with that, which is we're prepared for our last day here on earth. If even if that's not rapture, but it's some sort of dying or death, we're already prepared. But going back to the rapture, I believe that we have solid scriptures supporting the rapture. I think that if you're unsure about the rapture, I would say really do some study on it. Really pray about it. Instead of coming from the standpoint of rejecting the rapture, I would do your own research on it before you start denying it. But we aren't to necessarily debate about that. But in that's First Thessalonians, we're told that we're gonna get raptured. For John, not First John, but John, the Gospel of John, chapter 14. Jesus tells us that he will come again to take us to be with him where he is. To me, I can't think of any other scenario that fits into Revelation, that involves Jesus taking us to be with him where he is. Because I know there's a new heavens and a new earth, and I guess that passage could possibly apply to that, where Jesus is saying that he'll take us to be with him where he is at the end of, everything. But, that's not really how I read that verse. I read that verse that in some time period, before the end of the world, Jesus is going to take us to be with him where he is. And so, that's my stance on that. But we also have Revelation 3:10, which it says that he's going to preserve us from the hour of trial. And so going back to the main topic as I end this video, we should have that expectant heart of, we don't know when the rapture is going to happen, but we shouldn't say in our heart that God is going to tarry, that God is going to wait, because we should be about our Father's business and, be living lives as if Jesus could come back at any time, even tonight, even today, when you least expect it. Instead of saying, oh, it's probably 5 years down the line, or it's probably 10 years away, so I don't need to worry about it. No, I think that's not necessarily helpful, to anyone, and to say that when the rapture is going to happen in a more negative way, saying that it's not going to be for a while, I don't think that is a smart thing to do. And so thanks so much for checking out this video. I just wanted to kind of touch on a few topics, and that's why I think on this channel I try to make a whole bunch of videos on different Bible topics, because I just want to give a full scope of things that I'm interested in. And so I will also be making rapture videos on this channel too, just because I do believe that we're in the last days, and that it's totally okay. Even in the parable of the 5 wise virgins and the 5 foolish virgins, they all fell asleep waiting on the return of the Lord. And then the cry rang out while they were sleeping that the bridegroom is coming. And so, I believe that the cry is going out in a way, maybe not in the way that the parable means, but from the standpoint that, people are talking about the rapture, saying that, it must be happening soon. And so, We don't know, but I don't think it's a waste of time to make these videos. I think that it's fun to talk about the rapture. It's fun to talk about the New Jerusalem. And, I try to throw in there that, hey, we don't know when it's going to happen, and so I don't want to give anyone false hopes out there like, oh, God told me it's going to be next week. No, so we don't know, and there have been people who have waited for the rapture that ended up dying, and so I'm not going to give out those false hopes on this channel, but, I do believe that we can still talk about it. We can still, have an expectant heart for the rapture. And so, thanks so much for checking out this video. I will talk to you on the next video. See ya.